Okay, so here is a modification I didn't think I would be doing, but what I'm doing is I'm going to put one of those 3D printed rear panels that are made for the NES 101 onto an AV Famicom. Now, the only reason I'm doing it this time is because the customer sent me a US top loader that he wants the AV Famicom rear panel put on to make it look like that rare multi-out top loader or whatever. Irrelevant. The reason I'm making this video is this actually works out pretty well, because even I have done this for people in the past, maybe 2, maybe 3 times before. So this could actually put an AV Famicom, back out there in working order. And I was a little concerned, so I started really looking into it, and it is doable. However, what I've had to do is shave off part of this so I'll have access. And it's basically what will happen is I'll put the circuit board in here, and basically I'm going to have pins coming off of the circuit board that are going to go down to the holes in the motherboard right there, and then I'll just line them up, solder them, and then I can push this back. It's just a fraction of an inch that it's got to go back. I mean, like right there is perfectly lined up, but obviously the holes aren't lined up, so I have to push it back just a bit to make it work. And then I can solder it to the motherboard and it'll be fine. So there wasn't much to shave off, I don't think. I think I've got it to where it is just going to fit in there. Might be a little hard to see without the proper lighting here, but basically I just shaved off enough to where when this 3D piece is on there, it's not covering any of those holes. And I think I've got it just about right. Of course, I don't want any of the leads to touch either. I can't use a header because it has to bend. Once I get it in there, I'm going to bend it. So basically what I'm going to do is just grab my little tray of legs of resistors and capacitors that I've been cutting off and saving over the years. And this is only about 1/10 of what I, cut off. Some of them are bent and I just throw them away, and I keep whatever I've straightened. So I'm going to stick those through. Probably solder them to the circuit board, stick it on there, push it back, make sure nothing's touching, and solder it down, and it should work out pretty well. Okay, I'm sitting here looking at it, getting ready to solder. I'm thinking, I don't know why I put pins in there for this video, because that's not hooked up. So those could disappear. And I'll only put one pin in for ground, since the 2 holes for ground are connected on the motherboard and on the PCB. I'm going to go ahead and leave 5V in there, and I have to connect both pins for audio on the 3D printed circuit board because they are not connected on the circuit board. Other than that, well, yeah, I don't even have to do RGB, come to think of it. Probably not even composite sync. Yeah, I wasted a bunch of time doing that. So really I've got ground, composite video, right-left audio, and 5V. That's sad. That's all it really needs to be there. Although I guess if I ever went back to RGB mod it, I might want them in there, but it really wouldn't be that difficult to get those pins back out either. And it looks like I can, yeah, I mean it's slid back already. The pins are being held in place. And you can kind of see down in there and see that it's all making pretty good clearance. So that's pretty cool. And I think if Helder and Buffalo Wing could leave out that little bit of plastic and it wouldn't hurt it, then may as well. That'd be kind of cool. So anyway, I'm going to solder this up. Okay, cut off the excess. Now, I do believe if I took out the screw that holds the PCB in place, and the 2 screws for the 3D printed piece, that PCB will pretty much stay in place, and that will allow me to get the AC port of the power jack. I guess it'll be a DC jack for this. Look at that. Stayed right there. That came out really well. So that's basically what it's going to be. I guess I'll get a finishing shot for you once I get the AC port installed and put back together and everything. Okay, almost had a minor hiccup. The DC jack did not want to line up with the rear panel quite right. But all it was I did not have all of the solder sucked out of the slots right there. So the DC jack was sitting too far this way. And once I sucked it out, I could move it around. There was a good, I don't know, at least a few millimeters of play side to side there, which was just enough to get me to be able to line it up with the 3D printed piece. Yeah, screw holes lined up, and DC port lined up just fine. Oh, we have our first real hiccup. Heatsink does not fit over the PCB. In a US top loader, this whole back piece has a giant cutout because of the RF adapter. But on the AV Fami, I'm actually going to have to cut some of that aluminum out of there to make it fit right. Oh well, easy enough. I did a little marking. It looks like I could just bend up and break this tab off and have all the clearance I need over there. I need to come in just a little bit over here, and I'll probably just break out the Dremel to do that. Well, I got lucky with little side snips. The aluminum was nice and soft. Just working it in there. Basically just wiggled and crushed, cut through it. So, you know, yep, fits in there. Need to clean up a little bit of those jagged edges though. It just dawned on me, this might be something that they could add to the 3D piece for added stability if needed. I don't really see the need, but the holes down there where the multi-out normally mounts, you could add tabs to this and be able to bolt it down there as well. If you really look at the bottom half piece on a AV Famicom and top loader, they both have those posts there for mounting. Just add a lot, it would add a lot of strength and rigidity to it if needed, but honestly I'm not really sure that it needs to be there. It was just something I just happened to see. See, now when you're putting it back together, you might be tempted to put those screws back in there that held down the multi-out connector, but with that lack of plastic there, you could actually go so far down that you make a divot on the plastic on the bottom. I've seen it happen. So I mean, they were just there to hold the multi-out down, so leaving them out really isn't going to hurt nothing. I believe there's plenty of support there with what's going on already. Oddly enough, these are exactly the divots that I was talking about. They come from using too long of screws here. I haven't been inside of this console yet to actually see if anything dumb caused it, but that's exactly what happens when you use too long of a screw. Okay, here it is, all buttoned up, ready to be tested. And here's the rear panel on it. As you can see, a lot of color difference. But instead of being a parts junk console, it's going to work again. And you go.